Actually, the picture.
It's precious.
So, I don't know if y'all can see her, but that's the
Beautiful.
picture of her.
She's
being
bundled up.
held
How old is
in
she now?
6 months.
Good genes, huh?
Yeah, so I'm
From
sure
her grandmother.
on her mother's side. On her mother's side, I'm sure.
Okay. Now it's 6:30, still 6:35. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. First of all, do we have any citizens' communication as I look around the room? I don't think so. Okay. I'd like to, we have the September 12th, item 3A, approval of the September 12th, 2022 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes? So motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes.
All in favor?
Alright.
Okay. Item number 3B, discuss and consider action regarding community conversations. And in this one particularly on social justice, and is some notes, the very last 2 pages of your packet. I am going to admit to all of you up front, I'm not fluent tonight on this. I'm not prepared well. I've been out of town for the last few days for a funeral, and so I apologize.
I'd be happy to talk about it.
Would you talk about
Yeah.
this for us, Jennifer? Thank you.
So I looked at what some other communities were doing with the community conversations. Some of them, they're all over the place. It really depends on what you want to do. But I thought if you were going to structure it, you would want to structure it around your pillars.
Around what?
The pillars, the 5 pillars. So, I included some links so that you could go and watch some of these that are available online. I would think that you want to involve as much of the community as you can, but you also want to make sure that the scale of the conversation is such that it can be managed within an hour, hour and a half, something like that. So having your topic, number 1, is key. 2, my advice, and y'all can take it or leave it, but would be to invite some of the stakeholders in the community to be the ones to ask you the questions. So that would be like the president of Black Pflugerville, the president of Pflugerville Pride, et cetera, some of the religious leaders maybe in the community. Have your questions prepared in advance and give them out to them, or you could have them write their own question and send it to you in advance. But you would want to do that in advance so that you're prepared and you're not blindsided. You would have the community register for the event, so they can register to attend. They won't necessarily be the ones asking the questions. Those would be your stakeholders, but they can come and listen. And then you have the option of allowing for a short Q&A at the end of it with the rest of the community. They recommend that you have light snacks or serve a dinner. I think it would largely depend on how many people you want to come as to whether or not you would serve a dinner. That seems kind of a lot if you have 100 people coming, so maybe just some refreshments, some snacks, that sort of thing. And of course you want to have them recorded so that people can then watch them on demand. Daniel had a really good idea. He's the assistant director here. The Parks Department had a suggestion board here at the library. That's something that you guys could do across the city. Have those whiteboards with sticky notes, a pad of sticky notes. People write their suggestions on them and put them on there. Or you could have it be questions. So people could write their questions to you and put them on there, and then you could address a couple of questions a week at your meetings, or you could address them a couple of questions for each pillar at these conversations.
Okay, okay, I'm just now getting a chance to really look at this. And so these, like for example, they had one on affordable housing. These were individual forums that they held, or interactive,
Yeah.
community conversations.
Yes.
Okay. So they could pick a topic within social justice, or
Yes, and I would, and if you were going to do that, then maybe you'd want somebody from the city administration on your panel to answer the questions also. Sorry, Chief. But like, if it were on social justice, if it were on the police department, would you want to be involved? I would think so. They're gonna have answers that we don't necessarily have.
I would agree.
You say that one more time.
They'll have answers to questions that we may not.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
and, you know, and good data points and everything, but we can't just automatically go,
Right, right.
Question.
Uh-huh.
I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as our outcomes. So our outcomes to get initiatives defined for in the following year. What are our actual outcomes that we are expecting as a result of this? Is it just to listen and get feedback? I just want to know what people think we're going, what are your thoughts? Anybody's thoughts on?
Well,
Based on the information we're going to receive, are we going to do, what are we going to do?
Yes.
Yeah, I put some objectives on there. You guys can certainly delete or add to them, but I think one of the objectives would be, I've heard this because I participate in a lot of different groups, but I've heard, you know, I didn't know Pflugerville did that. I didn't know Pflugerville had a library. I get that all the time too. So part of your objective would be to inform the community on what the city's already doing, what we already have, the resources we already have. But also, like you said, give measurable goals for your next year.
I also think though that, as listening sessions because you would hear, just ask people to give their thinking. I mean, it might be things, you know, most of it's gonna be things that we have thought of or talked about, but there are people out there that might come up with a different kind of perspective that would be really informed, you know, because we're working in a silo, and even though of us have different communities that we're in regularly and whatnot, there are a lot of people out there that are experiencing things that we're not. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, definitely, I think in the healthcare fields and everything, I think most of us are very blessed to not have to worry a lot about that. I encountered some of that this weekend, and you just don't really know what all people are, you know, what would be most helpful in those terms to people. So I guess, are we going, is it that we need to, do we need to do something concrete, like we would like to have a community listening session at such and such time? Or is this something like we're so late in the year that we will, you know, start talking about the parameters of this program and launch it in January or something like that?
That would be my advice,
Yeah.
because you want to have enough time to really solidly plan the program. When we plan library programs, sometimes we plan a year in advance.
Right.
I don't think we need that much time for this. A few months, but you want to have a solid idea of, you know, what you want, what your goals are going to be. You want to know who you're going to invite to be on the panel, but also who you're going to invite to ask the questions. Then you want to advertise it and make sure that it's out there and people know that it's happening.
Right.
And if I may, there's a lot of research online that's easy, like NPR does listening session training. There's a lot of university work that's done around the research of how to do it. So you can do it really big, where we would, you know, have Post-it note boards all over it, or it can literally just be what I call a garage conversation, like what you would have in your neighbor's garage. So I think it's up to y'all to maybe look at, if you want to do some quick Google searches, you can probably get an idea of the range of listening sessions and kind of see what you want to do.
That sounds good. One thing I would add to that, Serena, is, and this is one of the things that I've mentioned to a couple of you, I would also like to see engagement in terms of any structure from the city as well, because we're a city commission, but we're a city commission. And we're volunteers, we're gonna go in and out, and the structure that's gonna stay in place is the city. And that's one of the things that in my tenure here that I've felt like a lot's been left up to volunteers. And I think that there's been some remarkable work, but the ownership from the city, I would like to see personally more buy-in from, more.
So we didn't want to step on, like, if you want want staff.
This is me speaking. I'm
Yeah.
not speaking for anyone else in this room. I'm talking about my experience on boards and commissions for bajillions of years.
We want to offer that for you, of course, like if you wanted, if y'all are like, hey, we think it's a great idea, but we don't know where to start, we're happy to do that. And I could bring you back, like, here's what we would suggest, I just don't want to step on toes today. So it's more of if y'all
You-
want us to do that, we'd be happy to.
I don't think you can step on toes too hard. I mean, I think that we welcome any kind. I think we're at a point where we have come up with certain things, the commission, the year before I was here, and then since I've been here, come up with certain parameters and everything, but there also comes a time that the city itself is, if not the structure, it is at least the buy-in to make for sure that that facilitates and makes for sure that this goes on. Because it's really important work, but volunteers are, like I said, I've worked with volunteers my whole life, they come and they go, and if there's not some level of continuity, of structure from the authority, which the authority in this case is the city, because we're only here because you said okay.
So the city of Plano is actually, I invited the city manager to come speak to my council at a lunch and learn in November. So what I do with council is we do these, they're not council meetings, they are meetings, but it's more to learn. They did listening sessions, but it wasn't specific to the conversation of inclusivity. But I'm gonna have them come and tell us how they structured it. My original thought was if y'all weren't going to do it, council would, I want y'all to do it. I mean, I think the conversation needs to be had in the community.
Oh, I do too.
And
I do
so,
too.
but of course, if council wants to do a separate one, they can, but I really wanted to teach council, this happens in communities, it's really successful.
Well, and what you're saying, it might be
And y'all
something.
should come.
Yeah,
Well, no,
I was
I-
hoping.
Yeah,
that,
well,
yes.
why don't you give us, specifics on that? Because I think that also, when we structure these things, we need to have officials from the city there. And yourself, and the police chief, and everything, whenever we're listening to the community, because, once again, the city is the structure, the city is what gives us our very ability to operate, and, signed off on it and everything. And I think this is just something I have been personally thinking about a lot, and it probably should have been an agenda item, and we can add that for November if you want to, instead of talking about it now. But when we start talking about these listening sessions and whatnot, I think it needs a city structure. Because, shoot, I don't even know where I'd go get a place to have one. I don't know. I mean, this is, it's a city organism,
HOAs, stuff, I mean, we can,
That's what I mean.
we'll concoct a program idea and bring it back to you.
So that would be a good November? That would be a good
Yeah,
November,
absolutely.
okay.
Down here,
I'm gonna do my best, I hate to.
No, I understand.
I think that's doable.
But what I would love to see would be faith leaders of large faith organizations in Pflugerville being told about this up front and getting official invite. The Pflugerville Chamber of Commerce, Black Pflugerville, the LGBTQ community. But I want us to reach out to them, not at the last minute, but just kind of let them know this is what we're planning on doing, and then give ticklers, to.
Well, and other governmental agencies and/or representatives that are a part of Pflugerville, because we have a county commissioner, for example. I think that Commissioner Trevilian would be a good person to have in on something like that, because a lot of resources in our community for people are county resources. They're not necessarily always city resources. And
But would we limit it to that particular individual, or would we open it up to more Travis County organizations
Well,
like, Community
absolutely,
Care,
Daisy.
Central Health?
Anything that
like-
affects Pflugerville is what I'm thinking,
Sure.
in terms of, because it also, we learn that way about what needs to be here and
Can I
how.
play devil's advocate?
You always can.
So, I'm scared it's gonna get diluted, the purpose of it. In other words, you put a commissioner in the room, somebody's gonna ask about Seal Road, or what. It becomes what's wrong with Kelly Road, or, I fear that it might dilute the conversation if they know that they have access to a certain crowd, and they can, I fear it would go, I could be wrong. I'm
Well-
kinda thinking,
It's interesting you say that, because when we had, and I don't think you were at the meeting when we had Judge Brown here,
yes.
and Judge Trevilian, and actually the difference between the two of them, between listening and, I think that with Judge Brown, he really did learn a lot about Pflugerville in one sitting, because he was very attentive in listening. And I would love to see someone like him here, because I don't see how else we get that by,
I
but.
think we could structure it where, yeah, I think there's a way to do it with everybody. I would just.
And it could be at different things. You could have, okay, we're gonna do it this here with this group and here with this kind of group. It doesn't all have to happen at once. I mean,
That's right.
so,
Well, the other thing I would say with those two elected officials, in my mind, they are not guys that are worried about getting reelected.
neither one of them.
Exactly, so.
No, neither one of them.
They're
They're
not,
both pretty-
you know,
they're
they're
pretty
not, they're,
okay.
they're pretty stable. They're not going to be, look, this is what I'm doing next.
Right.
Look at, I mean, they're there till they're dead.
And Andy was kind of like a deer in
Yeah.
headlights. He was like, okay, I didn't know all this
Yeah, and
stuff.
that's where the questions ahead of time come in
Be good for them to
handy.
hear the questions that came from our community too,
Even if they're just in the audience.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that's what, and we could make that clear. We're having these listening sessions. You might want to come and listen, and that, and listen being the operative. And I know both of them well enough to actually say that to them, so.
The thing I'm concerned about is participation. It is always hard to get people in the room. So, I mean, that's why I'm pushing these community leaders to tickle them so that they can bring their folks. But I am so open to anything anyone has to say about bringing somebody, getting people in.
So, can I move to have like a small committee or a group to plan this out?
Well, we need to work in linked in conjunction with, because Serena said she's gonna bring some stuff back to us. I mean, it might be this is November. I see y'all, this all happening next year.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
be
I've done
here.
these before, and to me, I see it kind of like, it's simple. It's just a matter of invites. It's probably the hardest part.
Well,
Do you
yes
have
and
to-
no, because they're remote. I'm sorry, go ahead, Daisy, I
Like, do
apologize.
we have to designate particular topics to be sure we stay on topic? Or like, is it just like a free-for-all?
Well, what Jennifer has put here, and I think is a good parameter, you'll have a session on social justice. And that's gonna be a particular set of people. You're gonna have a session on education, that is gonna be a different set of people. Some will overlap,
Right.
okay?
Something quarterly maybe.
So you have a specific topic, and so that way you can, if we look at it, if you start planning this and you see that in social justice, well, hey, there's like 10 topics within that, you might want to divide some of that out, or at least define it well enough that you can keep yourself in a certain lane. But, and that's a really good point, because you don't want it to become so like water just spreading out everywhere that it just sinks in the ground, and nothing happens, so.
But to kind of answer your question, it's both. It is focused, but then the open Q&A is a free-for-all.
Yeah.
That's why you limit the time on
Right.
And one thing I would say, you said, like major faith leaders, I would dig down a little deeper in that, because we're a very complex community. We have a sizable Muslim community that might not be a major faith leader, and they tend to hold their, quieter, and everything. We have a major, I've said it many times, the largest Asian population in Central Texas, living in Pflugerville. That means there's a lot of, faith, there's different faith communities there, and I think that could inform the way that we think.
You might, if it starts to become overwhelming per topic, break those topics down. So, like, you don't have to have just one on social justice. If you wanted to do social justice, X, Y, Z the first time, then you can come back to social justice later.
Exactly.
These don't have to
And
be.
so many things overlap, because, healthcare is social justice as far as I'm concerned, but it's also healthcare access. We've got, health and wellness, and economic equity is also social justice. I mean, all of them are social justice, to be honest with you, but you know what I'm saying. So you have a lot of overlap also. But, and I had thought the same thing, Anna, maybe, a subcommittee.
I'm volunteering. I have time.
That's the one thing I don't have for the next 2 months.
Yeah, I would love also to get the impact involved in this, get them there at the table. That way we have a forum not to only, so people see who are not there, what we're doing, but we also have an avenue to come back and the impact to say, this is the result of what we're doing. And let kind of folks know, I don't know, that's.
No, I think that's a great idea, media, in other words, media presence and inviting, you put forth an invitation for them to come and
Absolutely, yeah.
listen.
And we'll have calendar listings and it'll, we can put it in Key to the City and,
I think it would be.
we can absolutely, library can put it on the Facebook. We have a large following on our Facebook account,
Yeah.
so.
I think it'd be wonderful.
And then plus, actually going out and giving invitations to people.
So I would say that at the next meeting, we come in with more distinct parameters about what we're going to talk about. And do you want to work on that between now and then with Jennifer on it? Does anyone else want to join in that? I mean, what is it? You always have your little eyes
I
going
would
over there?
probably direct my assistant to Brianna.
Okay.
To lead the project and the research.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I know Jennifer's, as a director.
Jennifer's got a job, it's another day
So
job.
our assistant, she's a master's graduate in public affairs, she will knock this out of the park.
And tell her to feel free to reach out to any of us.
Yes.
And particularly if Anna wants to spearhead like being a sub thing. No, I mean,
And then I'll
Be a
have
point
her
person.
come, I was looking at the date, she'll get the invite in the next 24 hours to listen to how City of Plano did it. Take
That'd be
ideas, not
wonderful.
take ideas. Somebody always does it better than I do, so we can steal ideas.
well, they have a very diverse community. I lived on the cusp of, I was in Dallas County, but I lived, there was Collin County, like,
They hired
literally less than a mile
consultants,
from me, so.
They hired consultants to do theirs, but I think you can do this.
Oh, yeah.
I think we will.
I'm a firm believer in being a copycat and saving money. So, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. So does anyone else have any other topics on, things they want to say on this before we leave the topic?
And I want to make sure that we also reach out to Pflugerville ISD
Yep.
to make sure that we get somebody in the room, maybe one of the school board members, to see if they can kind of sit in.
Hey, so they can disseminate notices and invite parents to come.
Yeah, because I really think this is also an opportunity. This is our first outreach to our partners that we've identified. So we identified 30 different partners and I would love for us to reach out to every last one of those partners and some. Because if we get 25 people in here, it's a success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a booming success. So it's just hard to get people in.
Yeah, it is. But if we get that many, you can go into little smaller groups as well and do like table work and whatnot. That would be really interesting.
Yeah. And
And
it might take a time or two, a meeting or two to build up that interest, but.
I think that would be wonderful.
And then we could invite them back and then have dinner that way. That either
You're going to feed them, aren't
the
you?
Dangle
refreshments
the
are
carrot,
just
literally.
the carrot, and then the dinner brings them back.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that all sounds really good, and this will all be in the minutes, which will remind me. My brain is a fog right now. Okay, so anyone else? I don't want to cut off. Okay, well then, with that said, thank you very much, Serena, and thank you all of you guys. This will be very quick. Item 3C. Discuss and consider action regarding religious diversity. I asked Jennifer to add this to the agenda for this evening because we just finished, we're actually kind of still in because it's still Sukkot, which is one of the major Jewish holidays, but I received multiple comments and emails and concerns about events that were being held during the religious holidays. The High Holy Days, Jewish High Holy Days, particularly, now I got them primarily from people in the school district because the children were being told they had to have notices from their place of worship to verify they were there.
What?
What? You don't have
Yeah.
to verify you're there for
Yeah.
Good Friday?
Yeah, I mean, and I talked to Doug Killian and it was fairly quick and easy, okay, but, I'm on it, Pat, and I was just like, would you please inform your building membership? Because I don't think that Christian children have to prove that they were in services on Christmas, and gosh, you know what, most likely they're not, because they're opening presents and with their families. And during the Jewish High Holy Days, I can tell you, because I'm sure most of you aren't familiar with how they work, a lot of people are in services, they are, but there are some who are either, you know, there's not a temple that's accessible, or, you know, they observe privately in their homes and everything, but they do take those days off. And I handed out, and I want to say kudos to Jennifer, because y'all know my calendar, my particular Gmail calendar has got all these dots on it that I have to go, what's that one? Because Jennifer's got every conceivable holiday, whether it's religious or whether it's this or whether it's that. I'm like, oh goodness gracious, there's a lot going on. This is a calendar that I handed out to you. I want to, you know, as I always say, all of us have multiple life iterations. We've done different things in our lives. At one point in time, whenever it was before I was a school board trustee in Richardson, but I was, like a lot of you, is on a lot of boards and things like that then, and one was that I advocated for, and it was formed, I was real happy about that, a religious practices committee, because we were a very, very, very religiously diverse community. And one of the outcomes of the work of that was that we had every faith community that we could find that existed in the school district to give us a list of all of their faith holidays. And within that, like, which ones are the major holidays versus, you know, minor and everything. Because it's like, if a Jewish kid's telling you they need to be out of school for Purim, odds are they don't, okay? So, you know, and Orthodox kiddos might, but, you know, most kids, they would not. But this was allowed people to, you know, you could look at it. And so if you look through this, you can see all of these holidays, which is probably a lot of what's on your calendar, Jennifer. But it's the major and the minor and everything. And the reason I bring this up is I would honestly like to see some output, like, into the Chamber of Commerce on this. I mean, this, as a city commission, I am going to work with the school district some on this as well, but perhaps to, you know, to communicate to the community writ large as the Equity Commission that this is something that is, we're a diversifying community. There really are Jewish kids in Pflugerville now. And a lot of people don't realize that. We're a very, you know, diversity comes in, you know, we think of diversity and we tend to think of race and ethnicity. This is and things get real complex in that web of how all of that meshes together, because there are people of all ethnicities who are a variety of religions. And I know that you said you're a minority religion as well, Virginia. And it was the first time I've gotten a series of emails, and I don't know where they got well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't know where they got my name and phone and email and everything, but I was getting them. And like I said, I felt like I'm going to try to work with the school district on this as well. I think I'm really just wanting some kind of statement or something with the city to, like, help us distribute information to different stakeholders, you know, because you also have people who work for you. You know, like the chamber could distribute to businesses. You may have an employee, because as this community, we're not all going to the Lutheran church or the Big Baptist church or the Methodist church now. We're going to different places. And that's really what brought this up. And I just kind of like, it could be part of whenever I don't know which one it would be, as we look through the community conversations and whatnot. But like I said, we have a Muslim community here that I know is active and small but active. And yes.
So are you suggesting we add a pillar for religious diversity?
I don't know yet. I just want it to be on the radar, because it's not something we think about a lot, but it impacts people's lives. And like, it impacted the lives of these families. They shouldn't have had to go through what they had to go through, you know.
Yeah.
And it should just be an understood thing. And so, but that's all what we're about. This is about education. I see this as being about education. How do we educate the community? And when you're educating the community, you're educating beyond, because you're going to reach the teachers. You're going to reach, you know, the different people that are interacting with the different kinds of communities that are there, whether it be children or people who are in businesses and employed and whatnot.
I think it's a great idea to add that as a pillar, because the more we understand about other cultures, you know, the more tolerant we become as a community.
So, you know, and that hadn't, I'll be honest with you, Anna, had not even crossed my mind.
Oh,
It could be
yeah.
part of social justice, it could be, you know, but, you know, because it's, to me, it's kind of like whenever we think of diversity, and we also think of gender, which is not talked about as, you know, and I wouldn't see it being a pillar, but I understand what you're saying. And it would be really interesting as you get on down the road to have different faith communities come in and talk to you about certain things that are of, you know, how being part of a broader culture, you know, just as an educational kind of thing.
So I have a question.
Sure.
And I hope this.
I have
doesn't
not
come-
thought through a lot. I kind of want just to talk to you guys about this.
Yeah, but I mean, if it becomes a pillar, then we give it attention. If we give it attention, it could help to influence policy and stuff. I hate organized religion. I'm sorry. I'm not for that. But I really respect other people's faiths.
Right.
And you might then add something for the non-religious also, that, you know, like, just at least recognize
Oh,
that
yeah,
they exist in the
absolutely. There are
community.
Us
people who-
heathens gonna hate.
Us heathens gonna heathe.
So I have a question. I noticed that you have on here, widely recognized indicated in bold, and then, of course, that leaves non-recognized, that not widely recognized, not bolded.
Mm-hmm.
However, I know within certain communities, certain
I don't.
faiths,
This was
everything.
developed by a school district, and I just pulled it
Right,
off
so
the
I was
website.
just wondering, how do you, like, I'll give an example. So for the Christian community,
Mm-hmm.
of course, a Christmas is highlighted in
Mm-hmm.
bold. It's highly recognized. But also, Ash Wednesday is highlighted in bold. And from a Christian perspective, Ash Wednesday is highly recognized among the Catholic faith, but it's not really that well recognized on the Baptist faith.
And
So I'm wondering, I'm looking for what is like the holidays, you know, this is,
well, and what I would answer to that is that it's like there are things, like I said, that about Purim, but for an Orthodox kid, that might be something different than for, you know, like Reform or conservative. In Judaism, but I don't want to give everyone a history lesson on Judaism right now. I really don't know all of the different, you know, breakdowns. But there are children for whom that would be a
Right.
day that they would be recognizing, and you would want an educator to know that that's a possibility. This was developed by Richardson ISD.
Right, I was about to say,
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
the source.
yeah.
And yes, you might see kids coming to school with ashes on
With
their forehead.
ashes on their forehead,
And that might
right.
lead to bullying or to some
Right.
disciplinary.
So it's a way of
issues.
learning that we're just
Or
different in different
They might have to leave
ways.
school early that day, so it does affect.
Right. And people are
Virginia
really
had
afraid to talk about religion, but you can talk about it in, for lack of a better word, more academic sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that, in terms of what is recognized or not, is how is it observed and what happens? On Ash Wednesday, for instance, there's a lot of activity that comes back and that people see. They'll see somebody with an ash on their forehead or something like that. But St. Andrew's Day, you know, it is a holiday for them, but it's so insignificant in terms of how it is observed and who does it.
Right.
And
And this, like I said, this calendar in particular was developed for schools. I just brought it as because it was the only thing I could pull off real easily. But I do think it would be really of value for, all of this is about as Pflugerville diversifies. I mean, there used to be, when I first moved here, I'm gonna be honest with you, there was a joke that I was talking to like the only other Jewish person I found in the community, and says, "Oh, the population of Jews just doubled." You know, so.
the
Yeah,
population
but
of
that's not-
Baha'is has increased by 20% since
Yeah.
I've lived in Pflugerville.
Mice? Mice?
Huh?
Did you say mice?
No, Baha'is.
Oh.
Well, and that's a good point right there, which is, you know.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
think
every
that-
time I look at the list of Baha'is now, I think, gosh, that's a lot more than it was when I moved here.
And I think it's important that, if for no other reason, the richness that a lot of that all of these different kinds of diversity bring to any community, and the fact that Pflugerville is a very easy to count still community, but with all of this diversity, which is one, I have said it before, I was on a panel not long ago, and I said that, you know, when my husband and I were looking for communities to move to, and we looked everywhere. I mean, we visited all kinds of communities, and when we were in Pflugerville, the one thing we noticed was all of the different, and the thing that was the most visible, you know, is, you know, race and ethnicity. Everyone living together side by side in neighborhoods, and my husband are like, oh, we can live our values in this community, you know, and it was very attractive to us. And I think that this is yet another element of that diversity that you learn, and it's fun, and you can have a, you know, some kind of religious bazaar, you know, Diwali, they have Diwali festivals in Round Rock. We need to do that, by the way, because those are pretty and cool.
Yeah, I belong to the Austin Interfaith, and they have a passport program.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to visit all these churches, and it's fascinating.
And see, and that would be a fun thing to think about, you know, something
Yeah.
like that,
And
just
your
to
passport
educate,
gets
for
a-
people who want to educate themselves in that way. Not
Exactly.
everyone
It
will
is.
want to, but
It is.
we can look as a community on down the road,
the
like I said, of
purpose is
some
to build
kind of festival,
tolerance.
you know, or something, because then with all
I
of
love
the
the
food,
passport
you know,
idea.
food,
I do too. Oh, it's wonderful.
well, and that's something to think, and so this was really more for information for you guys. You know, fielding the questions, and I thought I was really beyond all of that. You know, I say I'm an old lady now, you know, and so I
Believe
thought
it,
I
it
was
didn't
through.
occur to me earlier.
So, you know,
Why didn't we think of this before?
well, we always say, we talk about, you know, it's in our charge, you know, religion's one of the things that's listed, but we don't, people are kind of afraid to talk about religion. It's one of those topics, you know, you're not supposed to
Right.
talk about and everything. Politics, religion, what else?
But the,
Really politics.
Religion. So,
the
but,
purpose is not really to invite other churches or grow religion or whatever.
No,
It's
it's
to
to
build
learn.
tolerance and respect.
and to the knowledge, to develop
And
the knowledge that
information.
Pflugerville is growing and changing and enriching. It's, you know, there's a lot of people that have moved in from other states and from other communities and.
I know.
From other countries.
From other countries,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
really.
mean, I look at the number of people on my blog, and on my blog, I've got 5 different ethnicities at
It's
least.
awesome, though.
Isn't it wonderful?
Mine's the same way, it's
I like
wonderful.
that.
Mine is exactly the same way.
A Vietnamese
Pflugerville's a
family
really
is right next
cool,
door
cool
on one
place.
side, and African
And we need to-
American on the other side.
Yeah, and I think that the importance, something you just said made it really, and I think that makes this even more important, is to show folks that come here from different, you know, faith communities, different ethnicity, you know, this is a welcoming community, you're safe here,
Oh,
you know, you're safe to be who you are, practice your faith, you know, you want Pflugerville to be about that. And that's why I'm assuming, you know, 'cause, you know, the early work on the Equity Commission was really a lot about that. We're here, and now let's figure out how we make, where everyone's welcome. You know, Pflugerville, where everyone's valued and everyone's welcome.
we've
And
come
this
a
is
long
just
way,
another
baby.
aspect of that. So that's what this was, you know, this is on, it's not a deep discussion item right now. I think that it might be interesting to develop something kind of like this. This is an educational piece, you know, and the work's been done on this already. I mean, it's pretty well done if you want to take it and adapt it in some ways, an educational piece to put on the website or something
Yeah.
like that, you know? And I don't think they would mind. I know a lot of people in Richardson ISD still, you know, we're gonna steal
Where
this.
is
Hope it's
this
okay."
currently posted anywhere?
She got it.
I got it from Richardson ISD. That's what, like I said, we developed it. I was saying I was the chair of the Religious Practices Committee in Richardson ISD, and we developed the guidelines that were for the committee that I was on developed the guidelines that was used to do staff development and things for the teachers and the principals in our school district. We had an education lawyer who was, you know, like a PhD, JD guy, Frank Kemmerer. And we also had the First Amendment Center that was here from Washington DC that was with us on our on our committee that worked with us and guided us along as we wrote the guidelines that were used in the classrooms with teachers and with staff development. I think. Oh, it was one of the best, most important things I felt like I ever did. And we had a committee of about 30 people from every faith community and kids. We had seniors, you know, because how are kids affected in the classroom, and we wanted to hear all of that as well. It was really cool. And out of that came eventually this. You know, they went out to the faith communities, got this put together and everything, so this was a byproduct.
I have no doubt that affected the political outcomes of some political races.
Well, that was not its purpose. Its purpose was.
I know,
Yeah.
but it does have a domino effect, you know? Positivity.
This is more like, I don't, you know, I didn't feel like those babies should be asked to do something that no one, other children are being asked to do.
Listen, as a teacher, it was really, really, really hard for me to have to send a child to the library because they were, you know, they weren't Christian and we were gonna mention Christmas in an activity.
Oh, I hope that, but they, you also let the kids learn,
Jehovah's.
but, oh.
No, their parents would specifically say
Say
no.
no.
It's hard, it's really hard.
Yeah, in the Baha'i faith, the children are required to bring a letter at the beginning of the school year from somebody in the administration of the faith saying what days are the holy days and when do they need to be off, when will they be off school? In order to have.
But the onus should be on the district to know that.
Yeah,
It should
right.
not be on the child.
But they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the Baha'is, that's one of the things that our administrative order does. It prepares these letters for all the school children to take to schools.
Well, hopefully, we can enlighten and educate, and that is the role of the Equity Commission, to educate and enlighten and include.
Hold
and-
hands now.
So that's why I brought this, and if, you know, like if Serena and, or, you know, Jennifer, if y'all want to utilize this in any way
Yeah,
whatsoever,
definitely.
I would welcome it. I know that there is no copyright on this, so, I mean, I think it's, you can.
Well, it's, yeah.
I would believe strongly in stealing things from people that have already done the work, you know? Why reinvent the wheel? It makes it a lot faster. So, but I did want to talk about that and bring it to people's attention, because it's one of our stated values for the Equity Commission, and yet it's not one, as you said, that we talk about a lot. And it's a discomfort zone, but it's a discomfort zone we need to be recognizing. And so I'm assuming you're of the Baha'i faith. From what you have said, Virginia, you have said that you're from a minority faith, and so I didn't realize it was Baha'i. We'll have another conversation time. I'd like to learn more. So, okay, that is all that we have on the agenda. Does anyone else have any top thing they'd like to say, talk about before we, golly gee whiz, the shortest meeting we've ever had in our
I have
lives?
a couple of items. We only have 2 more meetings for the end of the year.
Right.
Right.
And
thinking
I am concerned about several things we've started that we haven't gotten updates on. We haven't brought,
We need Andy back.
Andy
And
and
Jeff back.
Jeff back.
That's on me.
We wanted to get an update from the purchasing commission on how they're doing with their MWBE program and the numbers they're collecting. In addition to that, we talked a while back about bringing somebody in from PISD, which we never did.
You
For
might
what
consider
purpose?
that for first of next year.
Yeah.
I think that, because as you start going to the holidays, schools get real erratic and everything, and that's what's about to happen.
But also, it's been a while, and I'd love to see the numbers. I'm sure they're favorable on our stops, for arrest stops, for police stops. We were visiting those like a couple of times a year. We started so doing at the beginning of the year. We haven't had
Did we
one.
just get those last month?
Did we get them last month?
Got them not too long ago, yeah.
Did I miss that? Maybe
Just to clarify, do you want another presentation, or do you just want the information brought back?
maybe just information brought back, not
So
another
it's on our
presentation.
website every month.
Okay.
We used to do it once a year, we do it every month now.
I haven't been seeing the police report on Facebook for you to get fussed at.
We put it on our, that was probably the annual, but every month we have our
Okay.
stats.
No, that was fine. I just always, with some of the comments that come in from people, I'm like, really? That's what you're going for? It's just, you know, but, well, and that might be a good, like a thing just to have like some, if it's on the website, but if it's, I don't want to, you know, it'd be nice if it's just brought for us just to look at, and we could talk about it as it comes in. We don't have to have someone come and present.
Right.
Talking about the issue of items we haven't visited again, we talked last time, or it was brought up last time, about the Cap Metro program. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that that will be ending the end of September, or I'm sorry, the end of October, and the 1st of November will be the program that will be starting, that will be involving Uber and,
Okay.
So
And that is
has-
also on the website. I can send you
well,
guys
I
that.
just wanted to let y'all, make sure that all of you were aware of that.
Well,
I
didn't
have
know
a
it was an
question
either
on
or.
that.
What?
This is
I
off,
didn't know it was an either or. I thought it,
Yeah, Cap Metro is ending with.
it really is,
the-
it's really
the-
picking up usership.
Yeah, no, yeah.
What?
Started picking up usership. I have a question, and I mean, I don't think there's an answer to it, because the people that would utilize that, would utilize Uber, an Uber program and everything, are they like going to the website and utilizing Uber now?
So, well, it depends. I don't know if y'all want to be educated on it, but we've had quite a bit of public comment at council meetings, and mostly who is talking about is the elderly community.
Right, that's,
using it.
yeah, yeah.
And so, they may not have been using Uber before, they sure are now. And so you can sign up and.
Okay, and that was my only question, because if it's something that people are aware of and utilizing, I personally don't have any druthers which direction it goes, you just want them to have access for
So one
transportation.
thing we're doing right now is we had Uber sign off on, all our flyers, we're dropping those off at like barber shops and hair places and you name it. If y'all have any suggestions on where we can drop off, we are getting that message out.
What about assisted living kind of places?
Yeah,
Okay,
all
good,
of
because
those,
those
all
folks
of
are more
the
mobile,
nursing.
people in assisted living
That's
are more mobile.
That's our number one market.
Okay, good.
What about the bars? That way we keep,
I think
we keep Chief O'Malley, he can sleep at night and not be as busy chasing
we
people.
support that, yeah.
I wanted to point out that if, for our disabled people in the community, you can request, through the Uber program, you can request an accessible.
Good, okay, that's awesome.
It would be nice to have that overview though,
Yeah,
nonetheless.
that would be a really good one, that's a good program to think about bringing in, I'd like to learn more.
About what?
This Uber program, I don't think anyone's talked to us about it,
Okay.
just the nuts and bolts of it. and
To
everything.
make sure that I have this correct, then you just want the info on the stops, which is on the website, and I can send that out.
Okay.
And then we can put it on the, if you want to talk about it, we can put it on the agenda. Update on purchasing, do you just want the info on that also?
How that's going, yeah.
Yeah. If we can get more just broken down by ethnicity, by.
I'll see what I can
by,
get.
Gender, that'd be great.
And then you want an overview of the Uber.
Yeah.
Is it Uber or Lyft? Uber.
Uber. And then we talked about getting, seeing if we can get Commissioner Trevelyan and.
I'll call Andy and Jeff.
Andy,
I'll get a
yeah.
call. Jennifer has talked to me about that. They have both been, particularly Andy, they've been a bit distracted. It's that time of year and a big year, and so, but we'll see if we can get them here for November.
And
Because
then
that'll
you-
be after it's all over.
Right, and let me, these are requests, I have one purchasing person, that exists, so it may not happen immediately this next month.
Okay.
So, and all of these things are up to staffing, and, like tonight, we're in dual meetings. So the same staff that would do this is now at another meeting, so it's just sometimes hard to get.
It's okay. As long as, I think that James is making a good point, though. The only way we can really, commissioners can really be commissioners is to have the information so we see the progress, have measurements.
You guys should also start working on your presentation to the council.
Yeah.
Because that'll be in January, and I did make a list of your accomplishments and what pillars
You
they
need to
go under.
form a committee to be working on that.
Thank you for
I'm
doing
sure
that.
Claudia'd be willing to work on that. Daisy.
Nominate the people that are.
Yeah, what, no, I'm just saying, I like to think she's so, copious in her note-taking and her reading of agendas. I mean, the fact that she was not here to tell us what was not
Extremely
included in the
organized.
in the
Yeah,
minutes.
she's been doing a lot of work with Beto.
Oh, my gosh, you have no idea.
I saw her in Portuguese. She was so excited,
She's
telling
so-
me about his book.
Yeah, she's all over the map. She's awesome. I'm hoping she takes my job in the club. So, if we don't have anything else, motion to adjourn? So moved? All those in favor?
Aye.
Or adjourned?
Good job.